So my name is Juan Jose, JJ, for friends and enemies alike. Juan Jose Gomez Cadenas. I'm a particle physicist.
I'm Mauro Ceroni. I'm a neurologist, and I've been, a teacher at university. So I was researcher before, and then associate professor till my retirement.
Well, my name is Margaret Eziri, and I'm 83 years old, and my career has been in neuropathology.
My name is Javier Bernacer, and I'm a researcher at the Mind-Brain Group of the Institute for Culture and Society in the University of Navarra in Pamplona, Spain.
We were at the time working in studying the interactions between electrons and positrons that were exactly happening on the Z0 resonance. So we're producing those particles called Z0s or Z0s, which are kind of a very heavy photon that had never been produced before, again since the beginning of the universe. And we were producing those particles and studying the decays. And that was almost routine work. So we're there working and analyzing the data, too busy to be, particularly shocked by anything. And then one day it's like, you think, what? There is a theory, the standard model theory, that says that this very weird thing, this Z particle that has never existed in the last 13,000 million years, should show up here, and it should do these things. It should go to electrons, and to muons, and to dots, and I am measuring this. How come? What is this? And the universe is predictable. It's not only predictable, it's mysteriously predictable. Something that never happened in the 13,000 million years is happening here. So it was a shock. It was business as usual because I was doing that every day. But at the same time, the sense that what is going on here?
Yes. Well, when I went to the Gibbs laboratory that was working on Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. It's a strange disease that is all over the world and was considered till the discovery of Gajusek a neurodegenerative disease. But nobody knew which was the mechanism. Everybody was searching for a virus. But the DNA of this virus was not coming out. RNA was not coming out. And so nobody could understand how the process of infection, of multiplication of the agent could happen. And so at that time, when I went there, Gajusek had the idea that was an accumulation of a protein. So the amount of protein that went around was really small. Instead, I was able to characterize every strip for the infectivity because infectivity is very high. So that was really incredible because the experiment was tended to separate the two things. Instead, it demonstrated in a very clear way that the two things were going together. And so that's changed completely my interpretation of the.
And I was really surprised to see what he could do, because I thought that when people died, although I knew you could detect proteins and other molecules that were present in the brain at the time, I didn't think the enzymes would be working. I thought they would stop working. And that isn't the case. There are enzymes that go on doing their enzymatic work after people have died. And that meant that we could really study enzymes in our tissue if we didn't fix in formalin, which is what we normally did with tissue. So that meant getting post-mortem brain samples into a deep freeze where the enzymes could be retained their activity. And that completely changed the way I thought about what questions we could ask, and it led to the development of our brain bank.
Yeah, so I was thinking about it, and well, I think like every time when I do empirical research, because I still do some empirical research, every time I have a significant result is like a moment of wonder for me. One particular case of wonder, well, when I started my PhD, I did it in postmortem human brain material. So if you have a slice of tissue, like 50 microns thick, so it's just like a piece of paper, right? And completely white, you cannot see anything. But then you do some histochemistry or immunohistochemistry on any technique to reveal something that is in your tissue, and you do like some magic, you mix some reagents, you do something, and eventually there is something appearing there. So there is some color, there brown color in specific parts of the tissue, and that for me at the beginning, that was like a wonderful experience of amazement, of wonder, like saying, wow, there was something here that I couldn't see, and now with these little things that I did, then I could reveal it, and that's wonderful. I think that's wonderful. So
then again, you get hit by this sense of wonder of how come first that nature does this, it has the time to do this beautiful thing. It takes the trouble to do this. Second, how come that I can write the equations that describe all that? Third, how come that I can do the experiments that measure all that? Fourth, how can I make sense of all that? Including the fact that I am part of this game. It's not a simulation I am looking at. No, it is reality, and I am part of reality, and I am this kind of object of reality that's looking at the other objects and making sense of them. Again, it's a sense of infinite wonder.
It does is to make you realize the importance of having an open mind, realizing that ideas that you've generated early in your career shouldn't lead you to be thinking rigidly. It suddenly opens up a whole, you might be thinking about there being a certain number of supernovas in the world, and then suddenly you've got to rethink. You've got to be ready for that, I think, and science is a way actually to be aware of that, because the facts as you find them out, perhaps with new techniques, they often have an important role to play in finding something that is unexpected. You should be ready to respond to that, and it makes it all much more interesting, really.
I'm always saying to the young people who are students at a medical school, or maybe a residents and so on, I'm always saying, well, remember that it's absolutely important to have desires, aspirations, projects, ideas, and to imagine how it will be the future. But remember that you have to compare all these kind of things with reality, because the most beautiful things are not coming from your mind. The most beautiful occasions are coming from reality. I never thought about going to America till the point in which that professor proposed me to go to the United States. And then it was an incredible adventure.
I think the main reason why I went to interdisciplinary research, it was because I was interested in going back to the big questions. And I think big questions, probably in every science, but especially in neuroscience, they are very important. Because when I talk to young researchers, which are even doing their PhD, they told me that at the beginning they were interested in neuroscience because they were interested in these big questions, like, oh, yeah, I want to know about the brain, and I want to know about why we behave in this way, and so on. But then even, at the second year of their PhD, they have forgotten about this, and they went just for these step by step, for these small questions. But they say, no, but I'm still interested in these big questions. I would like to go back to these big questions.
I was always more interested in the scientific questions. than in the political side of scientific life. And I was never really very ambitious to occupy high positions. That wasn't really what I was after. I was after answers to the questions that I wanted.
When you're discussing with a friend about, it doesn't matter, something theoretical or something empirical or whatever, and then suddenly one has an idea and the other one says, oh yeah, you're right, and then we could do this thing, and so on. That's even more amazing than just discovering the truth by yourself.
You feel that everybody else who is really engaged in reality is your companion, is with you.
At some time, we start to lose all of that. The wonder with sciences, but also the wonder with life. The wonder with simple things in life. The wonder, the fact that wine is tasteful, or the fact that paella is great, or the fact that drinking a tea on the afternoon is a gift. We start to lose all that. To me, there is kind of a few aspects on that. One could be, there is like a cynicism, which seems to be a normal, almost a social imperative. As you grow up, you need to become a cynic. Because if you are not a cynic, it's like you are a little bit too childish. You don't know enough. You're like a too naive person. Whereas this guy he hasn't realized that true love doesn't exist, right? You let yourself to be defeated little by little. Like you give up on this, you give up on that, you give up on that. And you never try to fight back. So the three things conspire, and it's like you become less touched by wonder, less attached to friends, less everything, right? You kind of become dormant. I don't think there is a universal solution against that, except fighting back.
There was a very strong sense of you have to sort of keep going. And my mother, I think my parents probably instilled that into me a bit. You had the feeling as a young person that you can't take things for granted. You've got to do the best you can with the opportunities you get.
One way to fight back, we already discussed it, is you don't let yourself to be driven into a corner. You refuse to be the boss of the group that just does the searches for funding and writes papers and bosses around everybody and becomes a kind of a bossy figure, and that's it. You try to stay close to earth. Probably in personal life is the same. You take seriously the gifts that life gives you, like children. You make of that, a word of life and death. You don't consider that having two wonderful, beautiful children like myself is something that less than a miracle. You do believe this is a miracle, and then it's a completely different situation when you start. It's not the same when you wake up saying, "Oh well, right. What do I do today?" Then we say, "Oh well, right. A miracle happened today, and yesterday, and my children are here. I'm the father of my children." Oh, how come? So if you keep this sense of wonder, which is very close to the sense of wonder that you have when you look at the nature and the neutrinos are oscillating, actually the two things are very close. It's like it didn't need to be like that. That somehow you feel that all these gifts deserve that you give back, not obviously to whom or to what, but you must give back some of what you have received. So in a way, this has marked my entire career, because I was someone who was gifted with